Today's warm-up, again, we're going to be substituting in for the variable using the order of operations, and of course we're going to be looking at rational numbers. So of course, as always, the very first thing that we want to do is substitute in for the variables. So that means we're going to have 1/2 times c, which is -5/6, plus AC, so A is 2 1/4, times -5/6 minus 7/8, and all of that divided by -10, oops, let me fix that, -10 times 7/8. Okay, so as always, the first thing we look for is P for parentheses, and we don't actually see any parentheses, but we do know that when we've got an expression over what appears to be a fraction bar, which is really a division bar, that basically this is in parentheses and this is in parentheses because it needs to be done before anything else. So the very first thing that we're going to look at is this here, multiplication and subtraction. So of course we're going to do the multiplication prior to the subtraction. So we've got 2 1/4 times -5/6. We need to change both of those into improper fractions. 2 1/4, well, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 more is 9/4 times -5/6. First thing we're going to do there is make sure that we notice that 9 and 6 are both divisible by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then we keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So +3 times +3 times -5 is -15. And 4 times 2 is 8. We can't forget that we're then taking our -15/8 and subtracting 7/8 from that. So we do already have our common denominator. If we're going to use the acronym there, I love eating apples and avocados, we're already at the equivalent fractions. That's our E. So the only thing that we have left to do there is the apples and avocados, which means to add or subtract as usual, and then we get an answer. So if we're going to add or subtract as usual, we know we're really only looking here at the numerators. So that's -15 minus 7. We stay, change, cha-cha-cha. -15 plus -7. Oops, -7. The signs are the same. Find the sum. So we're going to find the sum. Absolute values. 15 plus 7 is 22. They are both negative, so that's going to be -22/8. So I'm going to, I know it's going to be -22/8. So I'm now going to rewrite this because I have now found what the top number that's going to be divided by is -22/8. So I've got 1/2 times -5/6 plus -22/8 divided by -10 times 7/8. So now I know that, again, we're treating this denominator, or the divisor, as if it's in parentheses. So I can put the 10 over 1, because I know that I need to multiply these together. And I should pay attention to the fact that 10 and 8 are both even, so that means they're both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I've got the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. That's negative 5 times 7 is 35. Negative 35, because negative times a positive is negative. And 1 times 4 is 4. So I'm going to have to go on to my next page to rewrite the next part of this. So I'm going to have 1/2 times negative 5/6 plus negative 22/8 divided by negative 35/4. So now I know that I've finished off all of my parentheses. I don't have any exponents. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is multiplying and dividing in order from left to right. So that means the very first thing that I come to is my multiplication of 1/2 times negative 5/6. Well, this is very simple and straightforward. It's just going to be the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So I'm going to have 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. And 2 times 6 is 12. And I'm actually going to rewrite this division problem the way that it's what I'm used to looking at. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to write negative 22/8 divided by negative 35/4. So I'm still multiplying and dividing in order from left to right. So I now have this division problem to do right here. I know when I multiply and divide, okay, first we will divide. Keep the first, flip the second, and now we multiply. So I'm going to have negative 22/8 times 4 over negative 35. I should right away notice that 8 and 4 have a least common or greatest common factor as 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So multiply straight across, keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. And I'm actually going to stop myself here before I do anything else, because of course if I stop and look at this, 22/8, that, excuse me, 22 over 2, that can be reduced to negative 11 over 1 times 1 over 35. Oh, that's negative 35. Now I have the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom, and I end up with negative 11 over negative 35. Well, negative divided by a negative, of course, is a positive, so that really equals 11 over 35. So now I know that I left this behind, and I know that the answer to this here is 11 over 35. So I'm actually, again, going to go on to another page here to rewrite that. So I'm going to have negative 5/12 plus 11 over 35. Now I definitely am going to have to use my acronym of I love eating apples and avocados. I'd say that these are really already my improper fractions. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to have love eating apples and avocados. So the least common multiple of 12 and 35 is going to be 12 times 35. And you're thinking, I can't do that. Well, what's 12 times 30? Well, 12 times 3 is 36, so 12 times 30 is 360. And then 12 times 5 is 60, so I've got 360 plus 60 more gives me 420. So I know I'm going to have some negative number over 420 plus some other number over 420. So first I'm going to say, how do I get from 12 to 420? Well, that of course was times 35. So that means I'm going to have negative 5 times 35. Well, 5 times 30 is 150. And then 5, well, I wrote 35 here. That's what confused me. Sorry, that's why I hesitated. It's actually times 35, not times 5. Sorry about that. So back to my multiplication problem that I was doing. If I've got 5 times 35, I do 5 times 30 is 150. 5 times 5 is 25. 150 plus 25 more is 175. And then how do I get from 35 to 420? That, of course, is going to be times 12. So 11 times 12. I'm going to show you a little trick over here. 11 times 12. Anytime you've got 11 times another number, you can do this very convenient little thing where I like to just stagger because it's times 11. So, and then I add them up like this, and my answer is 132. It will work every single time if you get used to doing it. So I've got 132. I'm going to add or subtract as usual. So I've got negative 175 plus 132. The signs are the same. Well, they're not. The signs are different. Find the difference. So I'm going to be finding the difference. Got the absolute value of negative 175 is 175. The absolute value of 132 is 132. I'm going to be finding the difference. That means I'm going to be subtracting 175 minus 132. Well, 175 minus the 100 leaves me with 75. 75 minus 32. 75 minus 30 is 45. Minus 2 more is going to be 43. So now, of course, I've got my denominator and my numerator. Oh, I did forget about my numerator here. I wasn't quite finished. I need to take the absolute value. The larger absolute value is sign. So the larger absolute value is here. The sign is negative. So this is going to be negative 43 over 420. And that actually is going to be our final answer, is negative 43 over 420. Some funny looking numbers there, but really an easy process.